breath and I'm ready to go. I'm falling right in and I'm ready to go. I found what I want and I know that we're on top, so I'll dive in and I'm ready to whoa. Holding my breath and I'm ready to go. I catch you laughing and I'm ready to go. You're holding the match, strike it and ignite my soul. I'll dive in and I'm ready to whoa.
I took the opportunity on this trip to take a stroll through a few different Vegas properties, and I thought it might be fun to share my thoughts and opinions and impressions of those properties. I walked through a couple of properties that I haven't been through in quite some time, and I wandered through a brand new property that I hadn't had a chance to wander through as of yet. We'll start off with the Sahara. This is a heritage property in Las Vegas. It's a property that's definitely faced its share of struggles, particularly through the mid to late 2000s when the rest of Las Vegas was facing struggles as well. But this is a property with a very long and storied Las Vegas history. My opinion, the Sahara is a tragically underrated property. It's had a refresh in the last few years, including following the switchover from the SLS back to the Sahara, which it had back a few years ago. The gaming area at the Sahara is huge, looks brand new. It's absolutely outstanding. They've got lots of great restaurants and bars on site as well, which I've had an opportunity to partake in past episodes, or past trip reports, I should say. I've shared with you reviews of some of those places. My understanding of the Sahara as well is that the rooms are really, really nice. They always seem to have decent rates, and I know they've had a few specials for international visitors as well, so that's certainly something to check out. And the Sahara is right on the monorail line, so you've got easy access to the south end of the strip. You walk out the backside of the Sahara, you go up an elevator or up an escalator, across a bridge, and you get on the monorail and you've got access to the entire south end of the strip. The biggest struggle that the Sahara faces is simply the location. They are at the very north end of the strip. In fact, I don't think there's another property north of them other than the Strat. And the distance between the Sahara and the Strat is long enough that you probably wouldn't want to walk it at night because it's maybe just a teensy bit sketchy. Anyways, that is the big struggle for the Sahara, simply the location. And quite honestly, that is one of the main reasons that I haven't stayed at the Sahara myself. I prefer to have a more walkable location. I like a spot like the Horseshoe or like the Flamingo or like the Link or Caesars or somewhere like that, where I can walk right out of the property and be right in the thick of the action. To stay somewhere like the Sahara and have to either take a lift or ride the monorail to get anywhere, I find is a little bit of a pain, and I'm sure that's probably a big obstacle for a lot of other people as well. Let's talk about Fontainebleau, or as I like to call it, the oldest new resort in Las Vegas. This is a property that, despite only being open for a few months, really has a very long and colorful history in Las Vegas. If you want to learn more about the background of the Fontainebleau, I recommend you go and check out episode number 167 of the podcast, titled From Eyesore to Eye-Catching. I go deep on this particular subject and the history of the Fontainebleau and talk about the past ownership and the past financial struggles and the struggle to get it built and why it's taken so long. But right down to it, it finally opened to the public in mid-December. In fact, it opened to the public the day after I left Vegas on my December Vegas trip. So I debated on trying to extend that trip by a couple of days so that I could go and see the Fontainebleau. I'm glad I waited. I'm not going to lie. This is an extremely beautiful property. There's no question about it. It is a gorgeous property. You can tell the amount of money that's gone into it and the amount of effort that's gone into the design and the construction of the property. The blue bar in the center of the casino is obviously, that's the the main centerpiece of the entire property and of the casino floor. It's absolutely gorgeous. They've got lots of very cool features and eye-catching accents. The whole property, of course, feels bright and fresh and new. The gaming area is absolutely massive. They've got lots of slot machines. They've got tons of table games. There are tons of dining options available at the property as well. Everything from ridiculous high-end places like Poppy Steak. You've probably seen some of the videos on social media from this place where the steak is brought out in a gold briefcase and it's hit with a branding iron and there's people singing and dancing. It's a little bit ridiculous. So they've got that, the $1,000 steak at Poppy Steak, all the way down to food court type fare, which, looking at the prices there, was actually, again, relatively reasonable. And when I say reasonable, it might not be as reasonable as your local fast food place, but when you're comparing it to other places on the Vegas Strip, it was actually pretty reasonable. It's also quite clear who they're going after with this property. Spoiler alert, if you're a low roller like me, if you're that guy that gambles $100 a day, you are not the audience for the Fontainebleau. They are going after high rollers. That is who they want in the property. Now, it does seem like there is a lot of opportunity for growth within the property. When I was wandering around up on the second floor, making my way over towards where the food court area was, there's still a lot of vacant retail spaces and places that are boarded over. There was only a couple of shops open up there. So again, I'm guessing that it's probably about 75 to 85% vacant. So I'm thinking they still have a lot of room to grow there. As for popularity of the property, I'm not going to pass judgment on the popularity of the property. I was there at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday. So of course it was dead. It was 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday. There's not going to be anybody there. It's not going to be a hip happening place at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday. Again, my opinion, the Fontainebleau, the biggest struggle they're going to face is the location. Again, they're on the north end of the Strip. They are right across the street from Circus, which is very, very weird. It's the oddest dichotomy to think of when you are looking at Circus, which the most recent renovation they've done was adding a fresh coat of paint to the circus tent roof and making the pink pop a little bit more. And then you've got this multi-billion-dollar property right across the street trying to attract super high rollers. It's just, I don't know. It's very, very weird to see. If you are going in that direction, again, you need to have a reason to be going in that direction. This is going to be the biggest hurdle that Fontainebleau faces, is that location, just for the simple fact that people are not just going to wander in the way they do at some of the other higher end properties like the Wynn and Encore or the Venetian Palazzo or the Bellagio or the Cosmo, where you're right on the Strip, right in the thick of the action. People are they're wandering down the street and, hey, let's go in here. If you're going to Fontainebleau, you have to be going there for a reason. Again, it's much like Sahara. If you're going to Fontainebleau, you're probably going there to go to Fontainebleau because there is nothing else along the road really between the Wynn and Encore and Fontainebleau, except Tacos El Gordo and Resorts World. That's it. So again, weird dichotomy there of Tacos El Gordo and Resorts World. Anyways, Fontainebleau, I think they're going to do really, really well with the convention crowd. They are just up the street from the Las Vegas Convention Center. So again, I think if you start tying in events at the convention center with events at Fontainebleau, I think they're going to do really, really well with that crowd. And I do suspect that they are probably going to make some adjustments in their plans over the next little while to try to attract some of those maybe not low rollers per se, but maybe not so hoity-toity is what it seems like they're actually trying to go after. And finally, let's talk Tropicana. See it while you can, folks. The Tropicana is going to be closing its doors April 2nd, 2024. That location is slated to be the site of a new Major League Baseball stadium, as well as a resort and casino owned and operated by the Bally's Corporation. This has been a big bone of contention for a lot of people. There's a lot of folks that are not all that happy about the location. They're not all that happy about the Tropicana going away. They're not all that happy about taxpayer money being used to pay for a baseball stadium. But Again, if you're a fan of Vegas nostalgia, you're going to want to go and check out the Tropicana while you can. Again, another property that's got a ton of history behind it. It opened in April of 1957, so almost 70 years ago, 67 years ago to be exact. At its opening, it was the most expensive Las Vegas resort developed at that point. Ended up costing approximately $15 million to build, which would work its way out to roughly $165 million in today's dollars, which when you compare it to big resorts like the Fontainebleau that are up in the billions, $165 million really doesn't seem a lot, but in 1957, $15 million was a ton of money. There is a lot of alleged organized crime involvement in the Tropicana. Frank Costello, mob boss Frank Costello, if the name is familiar, if you've ever visited the Mob Museum, you've probably seen Frank Costello's name pop up. He was once found to be in possession of a Tropicana earnings note. This was following an assassination attempt shortly after the resort's opening. As well, there was a huge mob skimming operation in the late 1970s. Joe Augusto, who's actually come up on this podcast before, Joe Augusto came up in my conversation with Claire White about organized crime involvement in the entertainment industry in Las Vegas. Joe Augusto was running the Follies Bergère show at the Tropicana, and he was siphoning money from the cashier cage and taking it back to the Kansas City crime family. So again, there's some interesting history with the Tropicana. It's unfortunate that they haven't really done a lot to keep that history alive within the property. And I got to say, for all the love that people have for the Tropicana, it is an aging property that really either should have had a huge renovation or been imploded years ago. There was no middle ground on this, one way or the other. Should have been knocked down or should have been given a multi-million-dollar renovation. Wandering around the property, you get this sort of 1980s Golden Girls Miami cruise ship vibe. I don't really know any other way to describe it. I mean, there's orange carpets and white walls and a lot of palm trees and palm plants inside the property. The property does have some cool features. I'll give it that. The pool area and the garden located kind of at the back of the property. It's where the bungalows are located, which were the original hotel rooms and the oldest surviving hotel rooms on the Strip. There's a lot of people that say the Flamingo is the oldest property on the Strip. And that's true, but really only in name. None of the original architecture of the Flamingo still exists. It's all gone. It's all been taken down. It's all been torn down and replaced with new stuff. Whereas the Tropicana, those bungalows, those are original. That was the original part of the Tropicana, built back in 1957. Unfortunately, they were closed to the public back in November of 2023. That was sort of when things were starting to come out. News was starting to come out that the Tropicana was probably going to be knocked down to make way for the baseball stadium. So they decided to take those bungalows out of the room rotation, which again is a little bit unfortunate. Also, right inside the main entrance, if you get a chance to go to the Tropicana before it shuts down, go in the main entrance and immediately look up. And for all the times I've been through the Tropicana, I'd never noticed this before. There's a stained glass ceiling inside the main entrance. Very, very cool. It's got its own cool history in and of itself. It covers roughly 4,000 square feet. It was installed back in 1979, and at that time, it was estimated to be worth more than $1 million. Now, when they installed this initially, the designers of this stained glass ceiling had to come up with a way to deal with the building vibrating. Every time the air conditioning units, because the air conditioning units on hotels in Vegas are huge, every time the air conditioning units would kick in, the building itself would vibrate. And of course, with a giant stained glass window, they risked the possibility that stained glass would crack or break, or they'd run into some sort of problem with the stained glass. Well, they decided to design these shock absorber systems surrounding the stained glass. So essentially what's happening is when those air conditioners kick in or when the building vibrates, the building moves, but the stained glass ceiling stays stationary. and the building moves around it. It's really, really cool. And again, right inside that main entrance. So if you get an opportunity to get to the Tropicana before it shuts down, go in that main entrance and immediately look up, and you're going to see that very, very cool stained glass ceiling, I should say. Now, very interesting situation that I ran into in the Tropicana. I filmed video and took photos in almost every property that I went into on this trip. In and out of every property, I took a lot of video and took a lot of photos. The only property where I was told no was the Tropicana. And by the time I had been told no, I had already shot a ton of footage of the casino and of the gardens and the pool area and that bungalow area and the exterior of the property and things like that. And so I was in the main casino area, and I wasn't even filming. I wasn't filming people. I wasn't filming casino games. I wasn't filming the tables, anything like that. I was very clearly taking video of the stained glass ceiling. And I was walking along, and as I was walking along, I had this security guy, tiny little guy, maybe 5'6", 5'7", sneak up behind me and just say, "No video, sir." And he was he didn't freak out about it, but it was just, I found it kind of funny that a property that was going to be shutting down within a couple of months, that was the only property where I had any problem filming video. Other properties, they're all about social media people, as long as you're discreet. I mean, I'm not setting up a tripod. I wasn't even using a selfie stick. I was just carrying my video, and I had my phone tilted up at the ceiling. And as I was walking along, I wasn't talking. I wasn't disturbing anybody. I was just taking video of the ceiling. This guy came up behind me and told me to stop. There was a little part of me, my inside voice, inside my head, I was just like, what are you going to do? Ban me? Please 86 me. Go ahead. 86 me from the Tropicana so that I can put that in my Twitter bio. 86th from the Tropicana. How cool would that have been?